Greetings, boils and ghouls. Welcome back to Midnight Movie Massacre. As promised, we have the classic fantasy triple feature. Hopefully we can turn you guys onto some shit you haven't seen, or onto some shit you haven't seen in a while. First up, we have Death Stalker. This came out in 1983. It was directed by John Watson and produced by Roger Corman. This was the first of 9 movies that Roger Corman would produce in Argentina, and it's pretty fucking classic, man. It's pretty much standard fantasy fare. Guy has to collect 3 magical items from an evil sorcerer. He ends up participating in like a gladiatorial tournament in order to gain access to that shit, if I remember right. It's pretty much just a lot of insanity, you know? It's a lot of buff, sweaty dudes kicking buff, sweaty ass. It's exactly what you want out of like a fantasy barbarian type fucking hack and slash movie. There's some magical elements, of course, lots of cool swordplay, a lot of camp. I think actually MST3K did an episode on this at one point. I don't know if I would call the movie bad. I mean, it's definitely a little bit cheesy, but that's what you would expect from an early 80s fantasy flick. You know, it's got the buxom babes, it's got the buff dudes. Like I said, lots of cool sword play. There's some pig demon type fucking guys in there. Pretty much rip-offs of the Gamorrean guards from Star Wars. It's just good stuff. Get some beer in ya, enjoy. That is literally the only point to movies like this. It's not something to sit there and pick apart. This isn't fucking Lord of the Rings. It's Death Stalker. Weirdly, there is like 4 other Death Stalker movies. I always grew up renting this from the video store, but this is the only one they had. So I've never seen the other ones, but I would really like to. You know, you guys that are familiar with my taste in movies, let me know if you think that I would dig those. I'm pretty sure I would. I can only imagine any drop in quality in the sequels would just make it better. Like, cheesier is better with shit like this, so lay it on me, let me know what you guys think. Sorry for that weird audio jump at the end of that last segment. My cat's knocking shit over trying to fuck up my grind. Anyways, up next we have Hawk the Slayer. This came out in 1980. It was directed by Terry Marcel. Basic gist of it is you got Jack Palance up in this bitch playing a low-rent fantasy version of Darth Vader who kills his father because he won't give him this Mind Stone that has all this power attached to it. Before he dies, the father gives a special sword that can attach to the Mind Stone to his son Hawk, who is Jack Palance's brother, and, you know, it basically gives him Jedi powers. He wants to get revenge on Jack Palance for killing their dad, so he sets out to do that. In the course of that, he ends up getting caught up in this plot where he's kidnapped this, like, abyss chick and is trying to ransom her, so he puts together a badass Dungeons & Dragons party and proceeds to kick ass and take some names. As you saw in the footage, it has probably the best rapid fire fucking effect in film history, so it's worth watching just to laugh at that shit. Although it is kind of cheesy, the movie is also pretty brilliant in a lot of ways. Cannot recommend it enough. And I feel like this one flies under the radar. So many people I know that are into classic fantasy flicks have never seen Hawk the Slayer, and I think that's a goddamn tragedy. I found out about this through my buddy Kickin in high school, and I've always been very grateful to him for that. And finally, closing it out, we got fucking Krull, baby. Lots of you guys have probably seen this, but some of you may have not, and it's worth mentioning as many times as you can ever mention Krull, because it's one of the greatest fucking movies ever made. If you essentially perfectly mixed Star Wars with Dungeons & Dragons, Krull is the result of that. It's standard fantasy fare, you know? Princess gets kidnapped, she's held in this lair that's teleporting all around, she's guarded by this crazy big fucking like Clash of the Titans monster. It's just awesome. What makes it brilliant is the mixture of the science fiction into it. They do it pretty much seamlessly, and it's just one of my favorite movies of all time. So check it out and recommend it to as many people as possible. Tune back in here in just a bit for a classic sci-fi triple feature. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this.